Hi, we're back. I'm Annie.
And Gretchen, it's Donuts and Pie Fitness, aging enthusiastically.
Today we are going to talk to a really good friend of both of ours, Joseph Carr. He's an amazing guy. You've heard of his wine, but he's the epitome of aging enthusiastically. So fortunately, we got to sit down with him today, and we want to share that with you.
And I think you'll find he's an interesting guy with a great story, and hopefully something that you can all take something away with.
Giant heart. We love him. So we are going to bring that to you today.
Great.
Here we go.
Stay tuned. And we're here today with Joseph Carr of Joseph Carr Wines. He's a really good friend of Annie's and mine. We've known him for a while, and he is the epitome of aging enthusiastically. So we're going to have a little talk with him today. Hey, Joe.
Hi, how are you today?
We are good.
Yeah, we're great. We're great.
That's good.
So, Joe, thank you for meeting us here, and we want to hear about how you started your wine company and your story, where you're at, where you've been, how how enthusiastic you are in aging.
Well, I live here in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, but I'm originally from upstate New York. I've been in the wine business since I was 18 years old. I worked my way through college as a wine steward in a French restaurant. I started out as a busboy, and I was a really bad busboy, so they put me down the wine cellar where I couldn't drop a tray on anybody, and I learned the world of wine, and it was very fascinating for me because, you know, I grew up in a lumber mill town, and my dad was a lumberjack, so it was a very exotic business to be in, and I worked my way through college doing that. And then I became what's known as a sommelier, which is a fancy word for butler, I think. But I worked in fancy restaurants in New York and Palm Beach, and oversaw all their wine programs until I got a job working for a winery. And at that time, I met my wife Dee, and I worked for wineries in France and in Italy and Spain and Napa Valley and Sonoma, and I did that for 10 years. Finally, working for a company in Australia, which was very exciting. I wound up becoming president of that company, and I got to work with Greg Norman, the golfer, and I created his brand. But after 9/11, it was a very dramatic moment in my life because a friend of mine was on the first plane, and I had a couple of friends that were in the tower. Dee and I sat down and decided that we didn't want to work for anybody else anymore, that we should go out on our own and start our own company, which we did. We refinanced our house, and our office was in our garage, and our desk was a picnic table, and we shared a laptop computer, and she did the books, and I went off to California and learned how to make wine, and it took a couple of years, and we released a brand called Joseph Carr from Napa Valley, and then later we released a brand called Josh, which was my late father's nickname. And that was really supposed to be just an art project, but it turned out to be something more than that. I sold the first couple of hundred cases out of the back of my truck, and that was 10 years ago, and this year we're the #1 selling wine in the country, doing over 3 million cases. So it's been an amazing journey, and it's had a lot of challenges along the way. But you know, I was very fortunate that I worked with my wife, and I could share those challenges with her. About a year and a half ago, my wife passed away. She had been diagnosed with brain cancer, and lived about 14 months after that diagnosis, which was, you know, probably the most traumatic time in my life. But it was also a time where, you know, I got to spend every day with her. I was very fortunate, you know, that I could walk away from the business I was in and let other people manage it and spend time with her. So that was a gift that I don't, you know, I really appreciate. And some people don't get that gift. And then after my wife passed away, I thought, well, maybe I should quit. Maybe I should just stop doing what I'm doing, or maybe I should do something else. And the challenge has always been, okay, how do we move on? How do we live our lives? And I tried to think what my wife would want me to do. So I began speaking to companies and colleges and commencements about the concept of adversity and failure. Because many times people look at me and they see just a successful wine brand and the personality behind it. And success is fleeting. You know, I probably have 10 times more failures than I do success. And I try to relate that to not only young people, but older people as well. And you look back and you say, well, how do you define yourself? Well, I define myself by what I did after my adversity and what I did after my failures. So going out and speaking and telling that message has been great. I've also carried the flag to be involved in some philanthropic endeavors, though I never used that word being a philanthropist before, because I grew up in a small town where, you know, if the school needed to raise money for the marching band, they had a bake sale. So I always looked at raising money for organizations as just another bake sale to get involved with the community around you, which is very important. So I do a lot of bake sales for military and first responders, local colleges and things like that. And you get to meet a lot of people that are very vested in the community they're in, and that that's a good day. That's a very good day. You go home and you realize you accomplished something on a very local level. So, I tell people try and find something you love to do, and try and find someone you love, and then you don't really have a job after that. And, that's how you conquer adversity and overcome failure.
That's awesome. I do have to say that you are part of this community and you give back to this community more than anybody I know. Whether it's a wedding, a charity event, anything, you're always right there, and you are the epitome of aging enthusiastically. Yeah. So.
Thanks.
So, Joe, as you go through this journey, there's a lot of twists and turns and things you expect, things you don't expect. What do you say to yourself when you're trying to make the next decision? Is there something that helps you go in the direction that you're hoping you'll go in?
Well, I mean, my whole life I've always thought I was going in one direction, and I wound up going in another. I mean, Robert Frost's poem, "Take the Road Less Traveled," applies to me a great deal. So I think the best thing to do is not have really big expectations, but see where it takes you, and be willing to adapt, and know that your life's going to change. And once you accept that, then you can, carry on the next day. That's the tough part. You think, okay, I'm going to get up every day at 6 o'clock. I'm going to have my coffee. I'm going to go see these 3 guys. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to walk my dog, and then the next day it rains.
Yeah.
And you can't do those things.
Yeah.
So you have to have plan B or plan C, and know that you're in a good place, and make your surroundings a good place. Live healthily. Exercise if you can. I mean, I have a bad knee, so I can't play golf anymore. So I'm trying to find other things that I can do to just kind of keep myself in shape. And don't be too hard on yourself.
And drink lots of wine.
Yeah.
Wine is very good for you.
And what's your favorite
Favorite
Josh
wine?
and Joseph Carr wine?
I love Legacy. I love your brand, Dylan's Ghost. I think the Dylan's Ghost label is so exciting because you never know what you're going to get. You change the grapes so I love that. It kind of mirrors your life. You don't know what you're going to get with the Dylan's Ghost.
That's another evolutionary art project that I do. I only make a couple hundred cases, and each year we decide, okay, what are we going to do this year? And it's not a very commercial approach, but it's artistic.
It's your passion.
But now you have Prosecco, which is...
Yeah, now I'm making Italian Prosecco. My wife was Italian, so I decided I wanted to go over to Italy and collaborate with a Prosecco producer, and it's been really great.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So I always told my girls, before they could even understand what I was saying to them, whenever they left the house, I would always say, use your heart and your head. And you're the epitome of that, Joe. that's what guides you, I feel like, and it's an honor to be your friend.
Well, thank you very
Honestly.
much.
Great. And thank you so much for talking to us today. This
Yeah.
is great. And then we'll have a link, more information about what you do and your wines, Joseph Carr Wines, and Josh, and what the future is going to bring for you. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Joe.
Good luck.
All right.
Thanks.